Hello and welcome to Indo Politics. Well, the politicians are out the gap. The Dáil has closed for the summer recess and we'll be back in mid-September. To coin a phrase, it's been a lot done, but a lot more to do. There's a plenty on their to-do list when they return in the autumn. And while some have left with good report cards, others will be happy to have reached the end of term. So to discuss all of this, I'm joined by our own Maeve McTaggart. Maeve, you're closely watching the Dáil over the past couple of weeks, in between Love Island, I believe.
Yes,
True. Which is more entertaining for you. Who has been, who has been a strong performer, in the villa of Leinster House, and who is not?
Who is
Start
in
with
the doghouse?
Start with the good ones.
The good ones. It's funny. It's kind of a bit of trivia, kind of going back through the last 6 months, because we've had, by-elections. We had, expensive bike sheds. We had, storms earlier. So people have kind of been in the doghouse, to coin the Love Island phrase. I suppose the winners, when you think back to where we were in January, there were a lot of questions over Micheál Martin, his leadership. He's still here. He's in charge as we enter into the kind of main section of the European presidency. So I suppose you could say he's maybe one of our winners.
Yeah, and he's still in command, even though people may have, once again, he lives to fight another day. But he's still in command of his party, even though many people had him written off well before now.
And written off many times, I think, between January and now also, and the kind of ship has steadied. When you think about things, I suppose, elsewhere, kind of in government, you had, the Health Minister, Jennifer McNeill. She really came out fighting on the Rotunda issue just a couple of weeks ago. So I suppose she's kind of in our winners' bank too. When you look at the polls also, I suppose, Fine Gael now has kind of just marginally overtaken Sinn Féin to become the most popular party. I think they're on 20% in the latest kind of Ireland Thinks poll. I suppose no one wants to be the losers either, though. So, I think there's
the Fitzy.
The Fitzy, who kind of left the villa of his own accord, left the pitch. I suppose Michael Healy-Rae maybe is the Fitzy of our season.
Not a good term for him.
No, particularly, I forgot to even mention the fuel protests a few months ago, where everything just really hit the fan, I suppose, when you think about it. And Michael Healy-Rae came out of the Dáil, much like Fistsy, I suppose, fist held high, after resigning his seat resigning as his junior ministry. Ultimately, it seems in the weeks and months since has seemed to regret that decision. Kind of drama also kind of with his brother, Danny kind of denying that was his fault, Michael saying that he really lost, Kerry a seat at the table in that regard. So, you have to say he's definitely one of the politicians in Leinster House who's probably looking forward to the few weeks of break, a few weeks back in Kerry. I mean, as a Cork person, I'd be loath to say it, but, can do you no wrong, I think, to be down in Killarney. But, when you look at it also, I suppose you also had, the by-elections, Sinn Féin kind of failing to get that seat in Dublin Central, Mary Lou McDonald's own constituency, and they've kind of failed really as they've come through the 6 months to kind of capitalise on a lot of the discontent, particularly with the fuel protests. They're still kind of there in the polls alongside Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, but are nowhere near the heights that they probably used to be. They've had that win in regards to pushing forward that bill on the 3-day wait for women seeking abortion services. That's probably the high that they have liked to go out on, but probably also looking forward to that opportunity to regroup now as we kind of come into the kind of more sillier season of August.
Yeah, so I think what next term will really be an important kind of one for Sinn Féin. You mentioned Jennifer McNeill. She's kind of put herself into a good position there for future Fine Gael leadership, even though that party seems to be far off that question as of yet.
Yeah, and I suppose, to kind of continue with the Love Island trend, it's kind of all on my mind at the moment. Kind of if they were to, I suppose, recouple, so to say, she really seems to be in the pole position. You kind of can't really see anyone else touching her at the moment, particularly when you're looking at the issues. I suppose maybe Peter Burke's name might have been thrown around for a period. He's currently his department is leading out on that investigation into Auchnish Illumina. That's kind of his charge at the moment. You can't see him having a moment where he kind of faces down Europe in terms of sanctions. The government don't want to do that. Whereas Jennifer Carroll McNeill kind of really was able to, with the Rotunda, you know, take the stance she did, take the stand she did, and ultimately kind of come out the other side quite strong, which is quite rare really for a Minister for Health, I think, to be even in the winners category at all, you know, which is faced with so many controversies and scandals. She seems to have been able to come out the other side.
Yeah, even though contrary to what people say about, you know, it has the nickname Angola for all the landmines, a lot of people who've become Taoiseach have been former ministers, like Simon Harris, former Minister for Health, Micheál Martin, former Minister for Health, Leah Varadkar, former Minister for Health. But there still could be plenty of landmines on the way for her. You just never know in that department.
Exactly, kind of trial by fire, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And Micheál Martin, we seem to always talk about him as the great survivor, and it's sort of an up and down, a challenge to Micheál Martin, and then he survives. The EU presidency will, you know, be a big test for him, but it seems, apart from that sort of embarrassing moment in Dublin Castle when Auchnish Illumina was thrown in like you know, grenade by Vladimir Zelensky, the presidency seems to be going quite well, and he wants to pull off agreeing the EU budget for the next 7 years. If he can manage that, that'll be a big coup for him. And if he were to decide to leave the position as leader of Fianna Fáil, he probably would in that event go out on a high. So that's something to look forward to for the autumn. Like, will the Fianna Fáil leadership race kind of quietly get underway in the autumn, do you think?
You'd have to wonder. I think the focus, and kind of before and since the European presidency, has been this idea of stability and any sense of rocking that, I suppose, image of kind of, what's the phrase, strength and with unity. You know, yes, of course, the Irish.
We've been hearing a lot of it.
Well rehearsed. And
I think it's even on. Is it on those beer mats? Those European presidency beer mats?
There's beer mats. I think there's posters around Dublin as well. So I think we'll be sick of hearing it at the end. But you know that there is that focus on it. So you'd wonder whether that whispering would be seen to be destabilising that in any way. Whether Europe really cares if the focus is that close on the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party and, you know, Europe, I'm not sure. But at the same time, the real focus as we come out of the European presidency will be ultimately that, you know, no one remembers the bad ones. No one remembers the good ones, but everyone will remember the bad ones if anything goes wrong. And there's plenty of time for that, not to be so cynical or negative about it. But even when you're thinking of, you know, the constraints that the guards are operating within, if there was to be any repeat of any sort of fuel protests, you know, there are obviously contingencies in place after earlier this year. But as you're looking towards the budget, those excise cuts and fuel supports lifting, I think there's plenty of time, if the government was to take their eye off the ball, for something to really, I think, obstruct their path forward.
Yeah. What about big gaffes of the year? Do any come to mind?
Yes, I think
there has been one this week. Yeah.
Yes, I suppose so far this term, I suppose it would be remiss not to mention the Bertie Ahern comments on the doorstep during the Dublin Central by-election. You know, Fianna Fáil weren't really on track to do well there anyway, but it definitely didn't help. You know, when he was on the doorstep and he made quite clumsy comments in relation to migration, I suppose, to put it kindly, ultimately caused a bit of, I suppose, chaos for the party, but also a real conversation and a real debate over, you know, how you have that conversation about migration respectfully, how you have it realistically. You know, at the time, you know, even the Minister, Joe O'Callaghan, wasn't too drawn on those comments. But still a major moment.
But he handled it as Bertie Ahern does and did as Taoiseach. He handled it quite well. He came into this very studio, I think, where we are sitting now, within 48 hours to sort of get on top of this and explain himself and explain that he was being secretly recorded and ultimately may have just been trying to agree or plumb us with the person on the doorstep.
And it's definitely, it was kind of an insight, I think, as well into how politics maybe has changed. I don't know if you'd catch a politician on a doorstep even now being that, I suppose, cavalier with someone. And it particularly in the age of kind of social media technology, you know, I think he made that point as well at the time of the kind of always being on that performance. You'd argue that maybe it shouldn't be a performance, that it should be kind of the authentic self being put forward. But it was definitely kind of the gaffe of the year, I think. You know, you also had that situation during Storm Chandra where the Housing Minister James Brown kind of took a hit at Med Éireann, and he kind of accused them of withholding information. That kind of came to mind when I was thinking of gaffe of the year, which I don't think anyone wants to take that that trophy, but you know, there's definitely
someone
been
has
more.
to do it. And then this week, Lynn Boylan at a European presidency meeting with the Minister for Defence, Helen McEntee, was there, and the Sinn Féin MEP, Lynn Boylan, you know, was saying, started her contribution saying that it's a pity she couldn't speak As Gaeilge and that there was no interpretation service available. And then it was pointed out to her that in fact there was, as there always is in these European meetings, and she just proceeded to speak in English anyhow because she wasn't prepared. That's kind of backfired on her.
And it came off the back also of a couple of weeks ago, you know, a motion, I believe, was being moved in the Dáil chamber, and the Sinn Féin deputies kind of, it passed them by until former Sinn Féin TD Peadar Tóibín kind of intervened and said, you know, actually, we need to redo this because it was fully in Irish. You know, Sinn Féin, you know, really denied that was that was the gaffe that everyone made it out to be. But, you know, it's definitely not been the best 6 months for them, and there will definitely be a need to kind of go back and strategize. You know, even in September, the big thing is the ploughing. You know, they'll be looking at the ploughing, maybe potentially getting Mary Lou McDonald where she seems most comfortable, which is out meeting people, doing the handshakes. You know, I saw her at the ploughing, I believe, last year, and it really is where they perform best, is meeting people face to face. It seems to be when we come to even the Dublin Central by-election was almost too much focus and too much pressure on them, and they couldn't perform ultimately to the heights that everyone really expected them to.
Yeah. What about the issues then that when we come back here in September, what's top of the agenda?
There are many. I suppose when you look at, you know, even this week, we're kind of looking towards the kind of culmination of that Auchinish Illumina investigation, e-scooters and the banning of those, or some sort of regulation of those, are also on the agenda potentially next week, as the government kind of assesses the options available to them on that. You know, whether or not that'll be, you know, I suppose I was about to say the wheels are kind of attached to that, but it's kind of too much of a sloppy pun by September. Also, the time where we're looking at the budget, the wind down of those kind of fuel supports and those excise cuts, that'll be particularly kind of crunch time as we approach October. So I think there are plenty of things to keep them busy, and again, plenty of opportunities, I suppose, for the kind of wheels to come off between now and really October time. But I suppose, where do you see us moving?
Yeah. And I mean, another issue then will be the 3-day wait for between when a woman first sees a GP and when she can access abortion services. That's going to be going to a health committee in September. Now, they're saying they'll deal with it quite fast. But then if they issue a report, it could go back to the Seanad and it could be rejected there. We don't know. I mean, there's different views within Leinster House as to whether the numbers are there in the Seanad or not. But that would be a big sort of, you know, win from Sinn Féin's perspective, because they put it on the agenda.
100%. And
a timely one that they need a win, don't they? Yeah.
100%. And particularly when you're looking at, you know, the kind of, as we said, the kind of 6 months they've had, but also really how rare it is for an opposition bill to kind of progress that far, particularly on an issue like this where, you know, a couple of years ago, or I suppose kind of even if you look back a decade ago, kind of conversations like this couldn't really have been had in a way that's so, I suppose, cross-party and diplomatic. And, you know, the government have agreed to work with them on the piece of legislation, and really exactly. Maybe it's the opportunity for Sinn Féin to kind of refocus themselves, get the momentum going, which they really seem to have lost, particularly as we came out of the by-elections, as maybe they didn't take as strong a stance as people had wanted them to in relation to the fuel protests. They were kind of laid out the doors on that, and didn't really, as we said, kind of capitalise on a lot of the real discontent that was there around fuel supports, the cost of living. That still hasn't gone away and will only kind of become more acute as we get into the winter months.
And then another issue which, I think could become a, potential, banana skin for this government, the legislation to abolish the triple lock. The Fine Gael side of the House thought it would be passed before the summer recess. Fianna Fáil kind of said not so fast. Their backbenchers had issues with it in Fianna Fáil, and they held a meeting with Micheál Martin to discuss it. And Micheál Martin kind of said, yes, we want to go ahead with this, but we're not in any rush. So it's going to be there to deal with in September. I think that the government's arguments are, very logical. It's talking about, stopping the situation where Russia or the US, for example, could have a veto on where Irish peacekeepers are sent. But I think the Irish government are underestimating that the emotional way in which this is being viewed by the public. People hold on to the notion of neutrality very emotionally. It's come up in many referendums in this country in the past. And the government's arguments are all very much based on a logical argument. So it could be a bit of an issue for them in the autumn. And, it could be more of a row internally within Fianna Fáil. And then, of course, the budget.
Yes.
We're starting earlier and earlier every year. But it's going to be for Simon Harris's first one as Minister for Finance. So there'll be a lot of eyes on him.
Definitely. And when you think also even of last year, there was a loss of, I suppose, unhappiness, to say the least, kind of within Fianna Fáil. The backbenchers there didn't feel involved in that decision-making process. That, for many, was kind of the beginning of this process of, wait, maybe we can have a new leader. Would that happen again if the backbenchers feel that they've kind of been tossed aside in the kind of decision-making process? For Simon Harris, he has made, I think, to date, quite big promises on the budget. He said there's going to be a tax package for families. There's going to be movement on childcare. Potentially with any budget, you can't please everyone, but really the argument from much of the opposition would be that really no one other than kind of the hospitality sector were pleased in the previous budget, when we saw the kind of that 9% VAT rate. You'd wonder, is there a way for the government to kind of have a big win? If there's a big splurge, will that be seen as ill-advised? There's a lot of moving parts, I think, that they will need to kind of get fairly fitted by the time that October comes around. Particularly last year, I think maybe it was around the time that we were looking at tariffs. It was around the time of the presidential election. There was a lot going on, I think, to distract from the budget last year as we kind of approached that kind of crunch time of the presidential race. We don't have that this year, as we're also looking at a time where the cost of living remains on everyone's top of their mind, the top of the bills that they're getting on their table. Whether the government will be able to deliver, I think, will be the big question.
And finally, Maeve, the only thing that will really keep us going through the summer is the EU presidency. Can Micheál Martin sort of make it the cherry on top for his political career?
I think you could certainly argue that if things go on the track that they have been, they've really seemed to be able to dodge, particularly with the Ukrainian president making those references to Auchan Illumina. The government don't seem to have been necessarily deterred by that so far. You could definitely argue that this could be an opportunity and a very comfortable kind of close to a chapter for him if he wanted it to be. I think the jury's still out on whether or not he wants it to be or not. He's kind of kept his cards close to his chest, but I think definitely it could be a nice kind of final tie of the bow maybe.
Okay, and then when that's all done, will it be time to keep our Love Island analogies going for a recoupling between Fianna Fáil and Micheál Martin, or will he be all on his own in the Villa and more.
I mean, you never know. There's one thing about Love Island, it's never short of a few twists and a few maybe interjections. You know, I think that's where the kind of story's going, as we've seen it so far, but I don't think there's any reason to believe that, you know, it's all kind of locked in, as they say, and heads couldn't be turned to kind of continue on our well-exhausted Love Island metaphor at this stage. You know, I think it kind of really remains to be seen and kind of a to be continued nice cliffhanger as we kind of go into the next season.
Thanks, Maeve, for all your great insights and your overstretched analogies. We really appreciate it, and your expertise on Love Island as well as politics. And thank you for watching. You can get the latest episode of Indo Politics on the Irish Independent website or wherever you get your podcasts. And we will have a special edition interviewing the Minister for Public Expenditure, Jack Chambers, over the coming days, so please watch out for that.